So joining us now is Ben Judah. Thanks for being here. You've been doing a lot of work recently about money laundering through real estate in London. What is that and how does it work?
One of the things that's really shocking in how corruption works is that coming out of Russia and Ukraine and all over the world, you have dirty black cash that's seeking a way to become nice, white, usable money. And the easiest way to do this is to buy property, not just in Britain, but Britain's a real capital for this. And the reason you can do this is that property in Britain can be purchased anonymously via an offshore company. So I could steal a vast amount of money from the Ukrainian HIV AIDS budget, create a company called Ben, register it in the Cayman Islands, that could then buy property in London anonymously. So money stolen from Ukraine has gone from dirty black cash to nice white cash. And that is happening on an industrial scale. You have minimum of 100 billion laundered a year in London, according to British tax officials, and it's turned Victorian bricks, it's turned these sort of dusty old bricks of London into the international currency of kleptocracy. And I've been kind of campaigning to highlight that and to kind of expose not only how it works, but also to stop it in a British political context.
Well, you're also involved with a film about this, correct?
Yes. I came up with an idea for a film which was to take a sort of caricatural Russian crook, a sort of government minister who would go into British properties in the company of estate agents and say, I've stolen this money from the Russian health budget, will you sell me this house? And surprise, surprise, with secret cameras, the people we approached all said yes. And this caused a big stir in the UK, it got the topic to be debated, and we had two successes. One is that the British opposition has made ending anonymous purchases and ending foreign entities being allowed to buy UK properties. That's a foreign company registered in the Cayman Islands, for example. It's going to make a campaign for the next election that if they win, they will get rid of that.
The danger now is that there are endless shell companies, right? That it's one company to another, so you have no idea who it actually
So the Labour Party in Britain has proposed, it's not yet party policy, and unfortunately the party doesn't have a sort of strong electable chance in the near future. They have made it so they would like to make it so no foreign company registered abroad would be able to buy property. You'd have to set up a British company to buy property, or a British individual would be able to do it, so British law would apply. And one of the other successes we had is that the Prime Minister said that he was launching a consultation to end anonymous ownership of UK properties. So we've had a bit of success, but so far sort of nothing in terms of legislative change.
Is there any muscle behind that consultation, or that would just be an advisory council?
The Prime Minister had a very bad week. Revelations of his youth have been coming out, and that somewhat clouded over the start of the political season in the UK, and not yet sure. Okay. Is the answer.
And I mean, you've spoken a bit about the interrelationship, between Western financial systems and what goes on in Ukraine and other, post-communist countries or developing economies. I mean, what is that interrelationship for you?
Well, something I find really fascinating is that in academic circles, people are always trying to work out, what was it that made Russian and Ukrainian oligarchic capitalism the way it is? What made these countries so corrupt? And the answers that are usually sort of pedaled forward are the Soviet legacy, or even the Tsarist legacy, or sort of antique attitudes to the state. And I think this all matters, that's all there, but there's also something else, which is Russia and Ukraine entered capitalism in the era of offshore finance, and the Ukrainian and the Russian oligarchy would only have been possible with offshore finance existing as it already was in the 1980s. And you have one story which I'm quite sort of fond of telling is when Hromadske came to London for the first time in the midst of the fall of the Soviet Union, and he asked if he could meet Mr. JP Morgan. These are people who didn't know what to do with large sums of money. And if it hadn't been a possibility that you could park vast sums of money anonymously offshore, I do not think that the Russian or the Ukrainian states would have emerged in the way they did. I would go as far to say that modern Russia and modern Ukraine are as much the creation of the British Virgin Islands and Switzerland and the Cayman Islands as they are of the post-Soviet legacy.
And so what's been the reaction in particular to this project with London real estate? Because it seems to have taken something that wasn't a real political issue before, people were upset, and made it kind of popular. Because you were making a point on Twitter saying, this is the reason why you'll never be able to afford a house in London.
Yes.
What have you heard from people? What's the reaction been to all this?
Well, there's greater awareness of it, and I think it's the beginning of a long process towards change. I was pleased that the Labour Party has adopted it as a policy, and the Prime Minister's now kind of discussing it and has launched the consultation. But I think there's a lot more to do, and I think there's a lot for Ukrainians to do. It's something very important, I think, for Ukrainians, not just politicians, not just diplomats, but also individuals, is that when you meet people from Britain or Switzerland or Austria, is that you have to sort of confront them with this issue, which is that you're allowing your country and your real estate to be part of a looting machine, which is seeing HIV/AIDS budgets, TB budgets, and God knows what else besides, vanish from my country and impoverishing me. And I'd like to introduce a bit of shaming culture. For too long, embassies in Kiev have written back saying that this is happening, but there are no costs of it.
And so it needs to be quantified.
Exactly.